Hey guys, I am here to talk to you and give you guys some last minute pointers and recommendations for tomorrow's exam. I know that you are probably like so ready to get this over with, and I'm ready to get this over with, and we've been working so hard all year long. So I just wanted to reach out to you guys and make sure that you like any questions that I anticipate that you might have tomorrow when you actually sit down for the exam. I wanted to try to predict those and kind of address them for you so that you're not sitting there like, dang it, I wish I'd asked Wasam, before I started this. So first of all, I have some recommendations on things that you can do today, logistically wise, such as deciding how you're going to actually upload your essay. So College Board is giving you guys a lot of choices as far as like whether you want to type directly in a dialog box online, if you want to type in a word processing program and then copy and paste it, or if you want to, actually handwrite your essay and then take pictures and submit it. You also have a lot of choices as far as like what devices you want to actually use, whether it's like your phone or a laptop or a desktop computer. Those are the choices that you need to try to make today and have those things all ready so that you're not like scrambling to get your device ready tomorrow right before the exam or whatever. So decide today. I do not recommend using your phone unless you're like super into your phone, and I know that some of you are. I'm from a different generation than that, so to me, like, my phone screen is small. I would have to be like scrolling back and forth for the passage. That would really annoy me. Some of you might have different feelings about it, so you know you best. Like, if you are confident that taking it on your phone is the best choice for you, then you can do that. Personally, I would recommend using like a desktop computer or a laptop or a tablet, something that has a bigger screen and that won't require you to like scroll up and down constantly to try to find specific places in the passage. The other thing you need to do is make sure that your device is completely charged if it's not plugged in at all times. In fact, I would recommend tomorrow plugging it in, like while you're taking the exam, so that something doesn't happen where your battery dies in the middle of the exam and your computer turns off. The other things that you need to do today, preferably, is get your space ready tomorrow, wherever that's going to be, whether it's in your bedroom or in your, like, if there's an office space. Just like straightening it up. I don't know about you guys, but for me, like, I work better when things are kind of organized around me. So like straightening up your desk space, straightening up the area around it. The other thing is, yesterday I posted on the newsfeed a document that's like basically an AP checklist that you should either have printed or copied and filled out. And that includes your AP ID, which you should have received via email, by the way. If you haven't received it, you need to log on to College Board and try to track down your ID. But that needs to be filled out like today, preferably, and then just put near your workspace. The other thing that you'll want are some sheets of paper. If you're planning on handwriting your entire essay, you can use a maximum of 5 sheets of paper. So you would want lined paper if that's what you're planning on do, and then your phone available so that you can take pictures of your pages to upload them. But if you're planning on typing, you should still have paper because, like, you are not able to annotate the passage. It's just going to be on the computer screen. So you want to take really quick abbreviated notes. Reminder on that: do not spend too much time on notes. Do not like waste your time, because you need to spend the majority of your time writing. I'm going to kind of go over the recommended pacing for you for all of the parts of the process, but for me, I would be just like quickly writing down the bare minimum of things that I need to help me remember that I need to include in my exam. I would not be worried about pretty handwriting or anything crazy like that for your notes, but you'll definitely want some paper. If you are handwriting your essay, remember that they recommend that you print your AP ID. I think it was like, pretty sure it was the upper right side of each page. I think you should double check that on the AP College Board website, but print your ID on the upper right side of each page, and then you also need to number each sheet. Again, you can only use 5 sheets. You shouldn't need more than that. Like, that should be maximum. You shouldn't be like running out of space or anything. Don't freak out about that. But make sure you number them. Anything you can do to improve your amount of time that you have tomorrow for the actual exam in prepping for today is ideal. Remember that tomorrow the exam starts officially at 2 p.m., but you need to be logged on at 1:30. You're supposed to be there a half an hour early. So for all intents and purposes, our exam starts at 1:30. Please let your friends and family know that you are starting your exam at 1:30 and that they should not expect to see you for like an hour, hour and 15 minutes, like whatever. The other thing is if they can avoid using your Wi-Fi, like whether it's playing video games or whatever on the Wi-Fi, please ask them to try to stay off of those things when you're actually testing. It shouldn't cause the problem, but just, to avoid any bandwidth issues. Sorry, I have notes in my lap. I'm not like texting or doing anything crazy like that. If you want more information about the exam or if you want to revisit the demo, don't forget that you have that stuff available to you on College Board. So if you're feeling kind of iffy about things or you're not sure what decisions you need to make today, log on to College Board. They have like a whole page for coronavirus updates, and that has so much useful information. Okay. As far as your writing, like your actual writing, here's my recommendations. We're going to start with pacing, okay? You have 50 total minutes for this exam, okay? That doesn't include the 30 minutes that you're logging in early. So you have from 2 p.m. until 2:50 for this entire process. You have 45 minutes to read and deconstruct the prompt and write. That last 5 minutes should be time that you are spending uploading your essay. Now, you're still able to work on your essay if you need to, but you're gonna have a timer, as you saw in that demo, on your screen, and when it gets down to 5 minutes, you really need to wrap it up, and you really need to start uploading because it will suck if you run out of time to upload. That would really, really suck. And if that is something that you're doing by taking pictures of pages and uploading them and things, like you really need that 5 minutes to get everything squared away. Please also, I just thought about this, but be careful if you're handwriting and you're taking pictures of your pages. Do not do something careless like forget to take a picture of a page. That would be awful. So please, if you can, double check your pictures to make sure that you actually have taken a picture of each page in the correct order before you upload it. That would be awesome. Same thing if you're copying and pasting. Before you hit submit, if you're copying text from a document and you're uploading it like onto whatever, double check your formatting, like make sure that your paragraphs divisions are really clear, make sure that you indented. I recommend leaving a blank line between paragraphs so that it doesn't look like you just have one massive paragraph, because that's really gonna hurt you when they're looking at like organization and things. The other thing, timing wise, is that within that 45 minutes of writing time, you should be spending about 3 minutes just on the prompt, not the passage, just the little blurb prompt at the top. Remember that the webinars describe that part as kind of a Cliff Notes version or Spark Notes version of the rhetorical situation. That has a lot of information in it that you really need to understand to be able to analyze. So it's going to tell you a little bit about the context. It usually tells you when the text was written, 2010, 1975, 18, whatever. It's going to tell you who the speaker is. And usually it doesn't just tell you that person's name. It usually gives you a little bit of credentials or background on that person. Okay, like for Margaret Thatcher, it was like British Prime Minister, whatever. They're going to tell you a little bit about the intended audience, okay? And again, as you're reading the passage, you're going to be able to glean deeper knowledge of all of these elements of the rhetorical situation and make inferences or whatever. But these are like in the prompt, these are the basics. It usually tells you something about the occasion for writing or the exigence, like what caused the person to create this writing, this speech, this passage, whatever, this essay, whatever it may be. Purpose, sometimes it tells you what their purpose is. Sometimes you have to infer. Sometimes it tells you what the speaker's message is. Sometimes you have to infer. It pretty much always tells you what their topic is. Okay, so that's usually a word or a phrase that tells you what they're going to talk about. And then again, sometimes the actual message or the thesis of the passage is in the prompt, and other times it's not, and you have to figure it out like as you're reading. I'm trying to think if there's anything else in the prompt. I think I hit on most of those things. So you're going to spend 3 minutes just reading that prompt and really like picking up on those details about the rhetorical situation. And then it says you are going to spend 7 minutes or less on the actual passage. Your first read of the passage, you're not going to be like digging super deep into it. You're trying to comprehend it. You're looking for those main ideas, and you're looking for any shifts in there. So remember that in the webinar, they said that you can usually divide the passage into 2 or 3 kind of chunks, and within each of those chunks, there's kind of like a main idea that the author is trying to convey. And that is how you should really organize your essay. So look at the first main idea in the passage. That should be your first body paragraph. Like, this is the first thing the author is doing. Then you dig in and you look at the strategies that they're doing to achieve that or to convey that message. And then the second chunk, and then the third chunk. Okay? So 7 minutes just to read the passage, to try to comprehend it, to look for those main ideas and those shifts. Now, you will probably pick up on some specific strategies, but that 7 minutes is not really the time that you need to really focus on doing that. Please remember that you're not looking for all of the strategies. I know that there's going to be so much depth and you're going to be like, wow, like there's so many strategies that I could talk about. Do not be overwhelmed. That is not your job in this particular timed writing situation. You really need to look at the most pronounced rhetorical strategies that are related to your thesis and that are related to the prompt. And so instead of trying to hit on 80 million strategies, you should dig really deep into the main strategies that really are pronounced and that really stood out to you and that really are related to the prompt, okay? Don't get like too all over the place with your analysis. Depth over breadth. Depth over breadth. So you've spent 7 minutes on reading and comprehending the passage, and then you need to spend about 5 minutes writing your introduction. Remember that your introduction can be great or it can be good. You can earn a perfect score with a good introduction. But really all you need to make sure that it has is all of the elements of the passage's rhetorical situation. Introduce the speaker, introduce what caused the speaker to create this passage, introduce the genre, mention it as being specifically a speech or specifically, an excerpt from a nonfiction text, an excerpt from a biography or an autobiography. Mention if it's a letter. So make sure that you state accurately the genre. And what else in your introduction? If you can include some sort of insight about the intended audience, that's fine. That can be really good. You don't necessarily have to. Try to also include the author's topic and message in there for sure. Like, what are they talking about? What are they trying to argue or convey about that topic? That would be their message. And obviously your introduction is also going to contain your thesis, like it really needs to. Now, if you recall, for the scoring rubric, there are 3 categories that you are being scored on: row A, row B, and row C. In fact, I think I'm going to post this scoring rubric today so that you can review this, because it describes, row A is, you can get a point for your thesis statement, which all of you should get, okay, that 1 point. Row B is evidence and commentary, and the highest you can get on that is a 4. And then row C is sophistication, and you can get a point for that. I'll review that more in depth with you. I'll post it online for you and kind of talk to you about it for those of you that want to dig into that a little bit more before tomorrow. But I really expect all of you to get your point for your thesis statement in your introduction. It needs to answer what the prompt specifically is asking for. It needs to identify the rhetorical strategies or choices that the author is trying to utilize to achieve whatever the prompt is asking for. So for the Brene Brown paragraphs, which I'm in the process of grading and I'm trying to get those done before the exam, some of you have my feedback already on those, but for the Brene Brown one, a lot of people are saying that, Brene Brown conveys her message about vulnerability through the use of humor, personal anecdotes, and what's another common one? Statistics, for example. There were a lot of different things that you guys talked about, but that thesis statement tells us kind of what her topic is, what she's trying to do with that topic. She's trying to convey a message about it. It doesn't include her specific message, but you could easily add that vulnerability is necessary for living a wholehearted life. And then it includes, specific rhetorical strategies that she's using. Okay. So you have spent 3 minutes on the prompt, you have spent 7 minutes on the passage, you have spent 5 minutes creating your introduction, whether it's good or great, and then you are going to do the bulk of your essay. Here's the most important thing with this. I hope you're still here. We're at 15 minutes. I know it's boring, it's long. I apologize. Here's the most important thing. Do not rush to finish your essay. I would recommend not including a conclusion. That's why I didn't assign the conclusion webinar. I think writing a conclusion is important. I think it can be a great thing, but not for this exam because it is timed. You are not going to get penalized if you do not finish your essay. You can get a perfect 6 score without a conclusion. You can get a perfect 6 score with an unfinished essay. They are scoring you based on what you give them. And if you give them enough to show them that you know how to write and you know how to analyze and you know how to do those things really well, then you're going to get a 6. They're going to assume that the rest of your essay would be similarly amazing. So my recommendation is write a solid introduction and try to write 2 or 3 amazing, deep, insightful, relevant analysis body paragraphs. And then spend the rest of your time in the revision process. I would recommend spending 5 to 10 minutes in your revisions. I've emphasized this before, and I know that it's crazy. You guys are probably like, I don't understand the importance of it, but revision is the most important part of writing, in my opinion. The first time that I write something, that's just me getting all of my ideas down on paper. It's usually disorganized. My syntax is usually really wordy and awkward. I have diction that's not the most precise. I haven't clarified my ideas. I haven't elaborated enough. So that's kind of like my skeleton. I always think of my first draft as my skeleton. And then from there, I perfect it. I tweak it. I change things around. I mean, the letter that I wrote for you guys that I sent to your house, that I got all my ideas down and then I literally rearranged everything. The way that letter is organized is completely different from how it came out of my brain. I took whole paragraphs and I moved them around because when I went back and I reread it, I was like, okay, this is not very logical because we don't think our train of thought is not well organized. I mean, think about the way that you think. You're all over the place. You got you go over here and then over there and then over there and you're like, oh my gosh, the squirrel, what's happening? I don't know. And so if you just take your reader into your brain, the way that it pours out onto the paper, it's going to be crazy. It's going to be nuts. So the revision process is super duper important. And I want you guys to spend at least 5 minutes on that so that what you give them is as amazing as possible. Do not rush to finish. If you rush to finish, what you give them is not going to be very solid, and then they're going to think that you do not know how to write something that is deep, well organized, and insightful. They're going to think you don't know how to use grammar, spelling, and punctuation. Okay? If you have any questions about that, let me know. Okay, and then the last 5 minutes, obviously, are for you to submit. So you'll have 45 minutes for all the writing and all of that, and then 5 minutes to submit. Other things, if you go into the demo, you'll see there's a timer on there, which is nice, and you can hide that if you want to. Some of you pointed that out in your comments for that warm up. I talked about the power of revisions. I'm just going through my notes here. Don't forget that they recommend on the webinars, and so do I, that you organize your essay not by specific rhetorical strategy, but by the chunks or the ideas in the passage. So for the Brene Brown one, I would start by how she opens. In her opening, she uses humor. Predominantly, that's what I noticed the most. And so my first body paragraph would talk about the opening of her speech and how does she pull us in to this topic. First of all, she has all of these kind of hurdles in her way. She's a researcher, and in the anecdote that she's talking about with the with the event planner that's like arranging the TED Talks things, and they're like creating the program for it. She's like, I don't want to call you a researcher because then people will think that you're like boring and irrelevant. And so Brene Brown recognizes that's an obstacle, that she has that title. She is a shame researcher. Talk about turning people off, scaring them away. And so she's using humor. She recognizes that kind of fear and values of her audience. And so she uses humor to really engage with them right from the get-go in the opening of her speech. And then you dig deeper into that. So I'm not just talking about humor, but I'm looking at specific quotations. I'm putting those in my essay, and then I'm digging into those specific quotations. So now instead of like seeing 80 million strategies that she's using in her speech, I can focus specifically on the ones in the quotes that I selected that demonstrate her humor and that help to create it. So I can look at her use of anecdotes. I can look at her diction. I can look at her imagery. I can look at any allusions that she makes, like all of those, hyperboles, pacing, syntax, situational irony, all of those. So once you, I already said this, but it's part of my notes, so I want to emphasize it. Once you have selected specific quotes to kind of illustrate your main idea in your paragraphs, then you need to go back into those quotes, look at them, and see what strategies are at play here. What's really creating this effect? Now with Brene Brown example, I'm talking about humor, but it can be anything. You know, like if it's a eulogy, which is like something that's being read at a funeral, it's probably not going to be humor, although sometimes they are humorous, to create some lightheartedness, but whatever effect you think is being created. So the most powerful question that you can ask in this analysis process is why? Why? Why does the author do this? Why is this here? Why is the author using this particular word? Why this imagery? Why this tone? Like, what effect is being created? So everything, like all of analysis, centers around the question, why is the author doing this? Next page. We're almost done. Okay. Quality over quantity. That ties back into the don't rush to finish thing. I know this is kind of like random now, but don't spend a lot of time on your notes. I think I already said that. On the same vein, don't spend too much time researching. In fact, really shouldn't research. I know that this is open notes. You can have any notes that you want. You can have any resources that you want. You can Google things, whatever. Like you're not gonna get in trouble for that. The risk though with that, and what I want to caution you against, is that I worry that you will fall into a rabbit hole of research, and that's not going to help you. You will discover all of a sudden that time has just escaped and you don't have anything written down. So really, you shouldn't need to research anything. Everything that you need should be in the prompt and the passage itself. You shouldn't like look up historical things or don't do any of that. You know, I don't even know that I would look up, you know, the spelling of words, maybe one word in the revision process if you have time, but just don't waste your time trying to research or shuffle through notes or anything like that. It's not going to help you. Focus on what's in here. This is a skill-based exam, a skill-based test. Everything that all the skills that you possess at this point should be everything that you need. The last thing that I want to tell you is, like my phone's being weird. Sorry if the color just changed. The last thing that I want to tell you is to make sure that you get plenty of rest tonight. Do not cram. This is not an exam to cram for. Try to go to bed at a reasonable hour. Maybe do yoga before you go to bed. Nothing exercise extraneous. In fact, I'll try to post like a relaxation, like yang, I think it's yang yoga for you tonight to do if you want to. You don't have to. So whatever you need to do to get some rest. Try to eat healthy today because that does make a difference in your brain's ability. You know, take your vitamins if you have vitamins. Take medicine if you have medicine that you need to take. Eat an early or eat a good healthy breakfast tomorrow. A good healthy lunch. And then make sure that you eat something, you know, shortly before the exam, so that you're not hungry in the middle of it. Make sure that you go to the bathroom beforehand so that you don't have to pee in the middle of the exam. And if you benefit from some sort of caffeinated product, This is awful. I'm touting drug usage through caffeine. Sorry, but if you benefit from any caffeinated product like coffee, then please make sure that you do that before the exam. I don't know about you, but 2 o'clock is my midday slump. So if I were taking this test, I would definitely be fixing myself a pot of coffee beforehand. Okay, I think that's it. 25 minutes. I hope that you find this valuable. I really miss you guys. I've been working so hard for you because you have been working so hard for me, and I just want you to know I'm so proud of you, and I'm so confident in you, and no matter what happens, just know that you have grown exponentially as a writer over the course of this year. So regardless of passing or failing, this class I think has been beneficial for all of you, and I'm just really proud of you. All right, I will talk to you guys later. Have a great day and a great exam tomorrow. Bye.